when I was a child, I know one of the things that got me started with all this was that I loved watching shadows.
Yeah, that's so
like
cool.
the way that light casts shadows, and for trees and animals and whatnot, buildings. But when I was, I'll say, in the city, I grew up on a farm, but when I go in and I was more around people, and I'd see the shadows cast on the pavement and on the walls as they were walking along, I just loved watching that. And I'd kind of play with, like, oh, can I not look at the person but just look at their shadow and see if I can figure out something about them? I mean, I just had this thing about looking at shadows and feeling like that conveyed so much about a person, which as I got older, I was always interested in movement and loved movement. So there's something about people moving in their bodies that has always intrigued me.
But isn't that interesting, though, that it was so present in you as a child?
Oh, absolutely.
And it has been this thread all through your life.
Yeah, it has totally been there. And I love environments too. I used to build playhouses and take boxes and make spaces out of them. So there's something about people moving in space that has really intrigued me. So it's stuck with me my whole life. When I was studying architecture, that's what I was interested in.
Yeah.
It's kind of like people move through life in their bodies, and there's always a relationship to the space around you. But just purely like, wow, how does my body like to engage with the world?
Yeah.
Because our body has consciousness. Each cell in our body is conscious, and it has its own function, and it's always communicating in relationship to every other cell, in relationship to everything outside of our body. It's like there is a big party going on all the time.
Yeah. Well, don't you find that a lot of people want to escape the body?
Oh, absolutely.
So maybe that's why you find them like they've just had this wonderful experience and they're somewhere outside.
They're somewhere else, and that's but the thing is, the more we try to escape, the more we just keep compounding whatever issues, because our body's talking to us. There's always a reason why, sometimes we do injure ourselves, right? You get a cut, you break a bone, anything like that. So that's going to cause a certain level of discomfort. But then there's the low-lying chronic discomfort that is always attached in with the emotional field. It's attached in with our thought forms. And if we keep leaving our body, we never actually befriend it. We don't go in and just sit with ourselves like we're a really, really good friend to be with myself in that space. So if, I don't know, that's really important to me, is to keep helping people find support within their own body, because I reach out to a lot of other practitioners. But in between, I've got to be in my own body. So I also have to practice what I preach. And I am inspired to work with people in a playful way, playing with work and play. But also, there's no techniques.
Really?
I've learned a lot of techniques over the years, but when I took my somatics training, which was the Global Somatics School here in Minneapolis, it no longer exists, but when I took that training, we were trained basically to experience ourselves as a living, in a sense, a vessel to create space and be with another person in their body, so to find that resonance, find that harmony with them, and listen to their body and their story and what's going on in their emotional field, and do that all simultaneously. And then there's guidance as to where do you slip in, what's the first thing to do. So when people come to me for a session, nobody ever knows what's going to happen, because we don't know what's going to happen.
You don't know what's going to happen.
I don't know what's going to happen. And they don't either. So it's sometimes you have to start with the body, you have to start with the energy field. Maybe there's talking. Other times it's like, got to get moving right away. There's something that needs to clear. But it all comes together. There's no techniques because their body and their higher self are both kind of constructing or giving me clues about where to go with them.
What do the clues look like and feel like or sound like?
I get information, I get downloads. I see posturing, I see movement patterns. I can feel when there's tension that needs to be released. So if somebody comes to me for, they really, really want to do some energy work, and there's nothing, they don't really know anything about, let's say, the ancestral kind of clearing work or what, but they're like, hey, I just want to feel good. Can I have an energy, like kind of like a cranial session? And they walk in and there's a lot of nervous energy that is in their field and they're fidgety. I know that putting them on the table is probably going to be the first 10 minutes not comfortable for them because they need to dispel excess energy that's in their system. So I'll get them doing some physical activities to move the energy to get them calmed down. Often I put people on a big ball and have them bounce up and down because that gets them into their feet, into their tailbone, moves the energy up and down their spine. It's so amazing. That would be one case. Sometimes people come and they just really want to do the physical stuff. And there's so much stuff in their ancestral field or in their soul processing that's going on. And I'll say, I'm just getting, would you be okay if we spent about a half an hour working through some stuff that's coming in? You know, they always have to, it's a give and take.
Sure.
We construct it together and we always set an intention. So, yeah.
So when that
crazy.
happens, you say you're going to work in the ancestral field. Is that something that you do to them? You do with them? They work with you? What's the...
I will say that their higher self is working with my higher self. I receive clues, I receive guidance, maybe even to ask questions. And but I'm always constantly not only working with their higher self, but I'm listening to their body.
Okay.
Because there's a two-way thing that happens for me. The way I don't know, my gift with reading the field is for some reason organs, tissues, systems, they talk to me.
Wow.
And so
That's brilliant.
the higher self is giving me information, but there's also other information coming through from the body.
And are you hearing this? Are you knowing this?
Both.
Okay.
It can be both.
Yeah. It feels like it must be a very busy life
very busy.
for you to have all this information coming from so many sources.
Right. There's a lot, and I was able to clarify that and understand it and get a handle on it when I went through my global somatics training. That really, it was a 2-year training, and then I became a teacher in that school. So I've practiced a lot.
Yeah.
But my teacher would call it a shamanic somatic process, because this is how shamans, in her experience of studying with a couple of different shamans, this is how they get information. They're listening to the soul, they're listening to the cells, they're listening to the tissues, they're watching, they're doing that all. So that's kind of what, luckily, I was doing it already when I was teaching dance and teaching yoga
and being an architect at one point.
Yeah, I did that for a long time because I really did want to do that. And then it was like, boom, been doing this for 20 years, done with, now it's time to focus with people in their bodies. So, yeah, it's fascinating because it is such a, it's very natural to me.
Yeah, obviously.
It's really natural to me.
Yeah.
And everybody, we each have our own gifts. And some people have this gift, but they've never been able to really lasso it, so to speak, or understand what it is that's going on with them. So that's another thing, especially when I work with other practitioners who are in health and well-being, and if they do energy work or whatever, And sometimes people who maybe are dancers or movers, but they're having like these other hits so that seem to be intuitive, and it can be cultivated. We can get better at it.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Like even if you aren't seated with that particular gift, you feel like I could somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is.
Wow.
It's because we all right now. You and I are in a field.
Mm-hmm.
We've created a harmony. We're resonating with each other, right? So you have access now on your multidimensional levels to what's going on with me. So you might have a different soul purpose than me.
Yeah.
But when we're together, I can introduce concepts and play and different experiences where you can have an experience, and just by being with me, it's the same as being with any person who's teaching you. If you can just relax, be together, I can share, and you can have an experience that will pop open that little part of you that maybe you weren't aware was there. But we all come in with access, with potential to access all of these things.
But as you say that, I'm thinking there might be somebody out there who's like maybe a little afraid to contact you, thinking like, oh, I need to have this skill set. I need that something would be required of them outside of just their presence.
Oh, absolutely
No.
not.
Yeah. Good. Awesome.
No, this is all like, we call it understanding how to be in your natural body.
Yeah.
So our natural body is the physical vessel. It's our energy field. It includes our emotional and mental, stuff, right? But it's also spirit, soul, whatever, on all the levels, all the dimensions, all the realities. That is naturally who we are. We are each huge.
Yeah.
We're huge. Our body is always responding to our thoughts.
Yeah.
For
good or for
not.
bad,
for good or for not. I discovered that years ago with my left knee because I was a dancer.
Yes.
And I started having such trouble walking up and down stairs. And long story short, found out my kneecap was sliding. I finally found the physical therapy that could help me. But what was interesting was I didn't find that particular thing until I realized that I was mad at my knee.
And why?
And when I realized I was mad at my knee, because I had to adjust everything in my dancing. At work, I couldn't run up and down the stairs. I was like, I'd hobble up and down the stairs. Because I'd gone to one or two different doctors, my family doctor, and they were like, tissues look fine, right? So I had this kind of a muscle sequencing issue that had happened. And I was carrying anger around my knee because I was mad at it because I wasn't able to dance fully and I was limping around. And I was like, I got to deal with this anger.
Yeah.
Started dealing with the anger. All of a sudden got directed to the person who's like, you got this typical thing that happens to dancers. See, I hadn't seen like a dancer physical therapist before. So, I have my own stories with that. So I realize these are things that go on with people.
You brought some ideas, some simple ideas that we have time to run through those if you want to share them with everybody.
So I have four keys to mindful movement and 7 daily movement tips for a happy, healthy body.
We want happy, healthy bodies.
Happy, healthy body. So let's start with the 4 keys to mindful movement. Yep. First key, let me just say, I always say motion is a magic potion to vibrant health. That's one of my things. So I always get people moving at the end of their session. So first of all, dropping into curiosity, cultivate curiosity, explore and play. That's number 1. Number 2 is to do a movement slowly. So if we're doing repatterning, neuromuscular repatterning, it will not work if you're moving quickly because our brain, as soon as we go into our normal speed, our brain starts sending the signals to the muscles the way we normally do it. So you have to slow down and pay attention to your breath, because that's the only way you can repattern.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 is to basically pay attention. So, like, what is my body doing? Is it same on the right and the left? So it's the discernment thing. Is it feel comfortable? Is it uncomfortable? So day to day, our body changes. So when we start paying attention, we notice the relationships, discern the differences, and we can be in our body where we are that day, in that moment, okay? And finally, visualize and imagine. I direct my mind and energy then flows in my body according to my thoughts. So just being really aware of that. So I do exercises with people to imagine or visualize doing movements without moving and then moving, so that they can see how it shifts the ease of the movement and the accessibility they have.
I can see how that would keep you in your body and interacting with your environment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, the 7 daily movement tips. Number 1, be tall. So, just be tall, whether you're sitting, standing, walking.
Yeah.
Because that works. Don't worry about where your head is or your tail is. Be tall. Number 2, activate your feet. Move your feet. Like, wiggle your toes, move your ankles. So important for our foundation. Number 3, stretch, wiggle, breathe fully. So this is like 10 seconds to stretch. And then wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And then take a deep breath or 2. You can just do that over the course of 30 seconds and bring so much energy into your body. Quick pick-me-up. Number 4, move your spine in all 3 planes. Our spine moves forward and back, side to side.
Okay.
And it can go in circles. We could twist, and our hips can twist. So shoulders can twist, hips. So there's 3 planes of movement.
I love that.
Okay. I always say, I teach people how to do 3 partial squats very slowly every day, because it gets you grounded, and when you learn to do them correctly, you will have energy the rest of your life, I swear.
Wow.
You don't have to do Qigong, but if you like doing Qigong, you can do it.
That's a big promise you got there.
Walk in 4 directions. Don't just walk forward. Every day, or at least once a week, walk backwards for a while. Walk sideways to the right, sideways to the left.
And what does that offer?
Oh, it offers balance. It repatterns your brain. It gets the 2 hemispheres of the brain talking through the motor centers. So helpful. It expands your awareness of your field.
I love that.
And you move your body in all 3 levels. So that means basically, in bed, do some different kinds of stretches. So you're on your back, right? If you can get down on the floor and sit or kneel, do some things on the floor. Do things while you're standing. So reclining, on the floor, standing, all 3 levels. That's when you remember to move your body on all 3 of those levels. I don't care what it is. Do what feels good.
Yeah.
Right? So many people just get stuck seated a lot.
Right.
Some people have to stand all day for their jobs. Some people get recliner ridden.
Yeah.
Whatever, depending where you're at. So if you can learn how to do some things, or just take time to do easy, simple movements with your arms and your legs, your whole body on all 3 of those levels, every level, that's so helpful.
It's you're basically just reminding your body that it can do many things, not just a couple of things. Right?
And so that gets energy flowing, and it's just amazing.
That's so cool. So tell me about the Community for Higher Consciousness and how that is important or not in your life. I'm assuming it's important.
It's hugely important. It's an amazing group of people. We all have there's such a broad range of skill sets, and I think it's a great resource that not only for us, and hopefully as people get more aware of that we're here, the blogs, the workshops, the classes, because we all come at it from such different angles. I have a lot of body-based angles. Some people are more emotionally based. There's so many different ways, but it all leads to basically raising your frequency in a conscious way. Because let's face it, it's happening whether we want to or not. The earth is shifting, everything's changing, and if we can raise our consciousness, it's like, and become aware of ourselves as a spirit having an adventure in a body, that can be fun and maybe uncomfortable. Both. It's so helpful. And what I'm also excited about is that we already have people who are involved with us from other areas of the world. So I just see this expanding, other states, other countries, because we all know people from so many different places. And I'm just excited for us to share all of our information with people and hopefully uphold everybody's journey as they connect with that part of themselves and have more fun in their body.
Bottom line, have more fun in your body.
Have more fun in their bodies.